Hello and welcome to the second episode of Talking Games with Kelly and Andrew. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Kelly.
We got a busy week for you. This is just our second episode, but the industry really decided that it wanted to be busy for our sake. So I think we decided that we were going to hop in with what we've been playing this week because there's a lot of news and a lot of E3 talk that would be a more fun ending. So how about we just start with the games that we've been playing?
Yeah, do you want to start, Andrew?
Yeah, I'll go for it. So I played two games this week. I played through all of Little Nightmares 2, which came out in February. Um, I enjoyed it a great deal. It had a lot of problems that were quite frustrating, but it was ultimately didn't bring down the experience too much. If you've played the first one, it's like basically the same deal. It has a lot of the same weird gameplay problems, if you will. But it also ironed out a few. Like the first game, have you played it, Kelly?
No, I haven't.
Okay, the first game had this problem because it was a side-scrolling game is what it felt like, but you had access to three-dimensional movement, so you could move back and forth as well, which was a really cool concept. But a lot of the time, you'd be like on a little bridge or something, and you would just accidentally nudge a little up or a little down while you were going left to right, and just fall off.
Mm.
This game ironed that out completely because if you're on like a weird thin ledge or something like that, it will lock you to that so you don't do something stupid like that. And it actually utilized the 3D space a lot more, so there's a lot more like back and forth movement. The character designs were really disgusting and nice because it's just very well designed. It's very clay-like. I liked it a lot. It's hard to say if I like this one better than the first because both are very flawed but enjoyable games. They have a lot of weird quirks and things that make them frustrating sometimes, but ultimately the weird aesthetic and the really grotesque monsters and stuff make it worth playing in my opinion. So if you haven't played this or the first one, I swear to God the first one is on sale for like 7 cents every other week. So whatever you want to play it on Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, I recommend picking that one up. If you like the first one, then go for the second one. It's a prequel, but much more enjoyable if you've played the first story wise. Um, Either way, I do recommend it. Uh, and then the other game that I played this week, not to completion, was Psychonauts. So we talked about this last week on the show because it got added to Game Pass, and the second game is on the way, Xbox exclusive. Same studio, same directors, and I've heard a lot of positive stuff about this game. And I actually know, not personally, but I know Tim Schafer is a very beloved guy, and every time I see him in interviews and stuff, he's the director of this game. He's just very charming, and I figured a guy this cool must have a great game, and everybody says it's great. So I decided to play this game. It is 16 years old, and it was hard to play.
Mm.
It was kind of charming, but it was early 3D era. It had a lot of weird quirks that were not pleasant to look at. There was a lot, like the comedy style was very loud Cartoon Network 16 years ago kind of comedy,
Mm.
which isn't which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it didn't help that during the opening level, there's a voice speaking to you the whole time, and the guy repeated his jokes every 10 to 15 seconds, like same exact voice line. Not like he said similar things. He said the same exact voice line
Uh-huh.
over and over. And I was like, I don't think I can make it through 10 hours of this game. So I
Yeah.
played the opening segments. I really wanted to like it. I'm gonna give the second game a chance when it comes out, presumably this year, because it's free on Game Pass. But honestly, without nostalgia, I don't know if this is one worth going back to. I'm disappointed to say, but I personally didn't find it worth my time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I have still just been playing through the Legendary Edition of Mass Effect 3, or Mass Effect, I should say. I'm on Mass Effect 3 now, so I'm almost done. Um, I'll just kind of reiterate what I've been saying the past few times is that it the bones of the game has not changed. The combat is about the same. It's really just sort of a graphical overhaul. But yeah, I've been really enjoying myself. It's kind of an emotionally exhausting game. I don't know. People don't really talk about that. Like the first two games aren't really like that as much. The first two games aren't really like that as much because it's not, the stakes are high, but in this game it's very much like do or die. So it's kind of emotionally exhausting. It sort of feels like everything is very dire and it can be hard to play for like long sessions because I'm like, oh, well, I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm like, oh, something really big just happened and it's making me emotional. And then it's like, surprise, 2 hours later, something else really big happens and it's making me really emotional. So,
I mean, that game is very end of days plot wise.
yeah.
So, do you know? I know you haven't finished it, but I'm assuming all of the free DLC, like the ending expansion and stuff,
Oh, yeah.
is
I mean,
it's included, right?
yeah, all the DLC is included in the game, even the paid DLC. So the
Okay,
free ones are definitely there.
because when I played Mass Effect 3 for the first time a few years ago, I didn't know that the ending had a free DLC expansion.
Mm-hmm.
So I experienced the original ending and then
Mm,
didn't know until like months later that there was a longer version. So it's good
yeah,
that that's included. I mean, I guess that's probably the bare minimum as far as what they should put in this, but still.
right, right. Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because I'm not even sure, like, when you download it off of the store, I'm not even sure that they do it without the extended cut DLC anymore.
The
So,
original.
like, if you go to the Xbox store and you download it on your 360 or whatever, because I well, maybe I'm mistaken. I'm not really sure, but it's
I
interesting.
think you
So,
might be right because like when I got it, it was a physical PS3
mhm,
disc, so it was the original launch version. So it
yeah,
would make sense that now if you download it, it doesn't have those same, or it has the additional content just included on the disc because it's free and it's intended to be there. So
right. That's crazy though. I remember it was like the first DLC that I ever downloaded ever like in my life. And it was like March 2012.
yeah,
So I had my Xbox 360 like hooked up to the Ethernet port in the
yeah,
room. So
probably took like an hour just to download the little thing.
yeah.
So that's what we've been playing. How about we just jump right into the news so we can get through this good stuff?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. So earlier this week, Virtual Fighter 5 had an announced remaster. It's made by Ryo Gogotako. Go Go Taku. I got it. Uh, which is better known for their work on the Yakuza series. They're a Sega in-house studio. They're making the remaster of Virtua Fighter 5. I can't talk about this. This is too many letters. And it's coming out on June 1st. And it's included free if you have PlayStation Plus, which I find pleasantly surprising. I've actually played this game, not in its entirety, because Yakuza 5 includes Virtua Fighter 5 in the game. Like if you go to the in-game arcade, your
Hmm.
character can walk up and just play Virtua Fighter 5 and it just cuts to the game instead of Yakuza. So I
Oh.
so I have played this game and I can vouch this remaster looks like a huge step up. It's
Hmm.
over a decade old. It came to consoles in like 2012, but it's been in arcade since 2000, late 2000s. So I think remastering this, bringing that series back is probably smart. Putting it on PlayStation Plus, probably the best move they could have done because it's niche and it's been over a decade. So like a lot of people probably have lost interest or forgotten. But the fact a lot of people who have PlayStations, and this is exclusive to PlayStation, uh, the fact that they don't have to pay to play it, they could just download and start going. I think that's going to help us out a lot. So there's a good chance that this will actually be a hit for the series, and I'm excited for that. It's kind of an underappreciated series these days. So, and fighting games, I feel like they don't get as much love as they deserve, even if they are pretty niche. They deserve a bit more attention than I think they generally get. So this might be something good.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks exciting. That's all I really have to say about it. I don't know anything. I literally don't know anything about arcade games or anything like that, so I can't really speak on my experience with it, but I think it is cool. It's cool that it was in the Yakuza games. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was really strange. I didn't know that when I got the games, and then I walk into the arcade and it's like Virtua Fighter, and I'm like, oh, that's a cool Easter egg. And then I walked up and it said play, and I was like, wait, like the game, the whole thing,
Hmm.
and it's basically, I mean, it's an arcade version, so it's not as expansive as the console versions were, but still, it was free, included in the game, and I had
Right,
fun playing it for a few minutes.
right. Well, that's exciting. Speaking of exciting things, Monster Hunter Rise has sold, or I'm sorry, has shipped over 7 million copies worldwide, um, which is pretty cool. Not that, I don't think that's that surprising, just considering Monster Hunter's popularity worldwide. But
It's surprising in the sense that they stepped away from their Nintendo exclusivity. So I wouldn't have expected them to step back and then just instantly have enormous success again, like they never left, really.
hmm did
7
you,
million is a lot of units
yeah,
considering it came out in late March.
did you play it?
I did not know.
Mm.
I it's on that list, that ever expanding list of games I intend to play.
It
Um
it's really fun, and you know what, it looks really good, like
mhm.
surprisingly. I mean, not saying that Switch games look bad, but um I don't know, just the, like, quality of the textures and stuff like that look really, really nice for a Switch game,
Yeah,
and
from
it's
what I'm
fun.
seeing, I'm surprised how good it looks for as underpowered a console as the Switch.
Yeah,
And also because it sold 7 million, they're putting in some included DLC, some free items, which I think is really a cute way for the developer to thank people for buying their game.
right. I'm not upset about that. Pretty pleased. I think it's fun, and I think more people should play them. The universe is very involved and detailed, which can be kind of a barrier at first, but once you sort of get into the swing of things, it's really fun, kind of addictive.
Because I played World for a few hours, Monster Hunter World on PlayStation 4, and honestly, it was just like a bit too much for me to take in, and I was like, I decided I'd come back to it eventually, which I haven't yet, but that series is like definitely one of those things that people talk about. You just got to get over the barrier. Just got to get over the entry barrier,
Mhm.
and then it's the best. And I trust them, but there is no there. It's shouldn't be understated. That barrier is very real, and it is not super easy to get over. But it's one I
Mhm.
intend to someday.
Someday.
Someday, maybe soon. We'll see. Um, in other positive news, we got a lot of positive news this week. Honestly, it's like a vast majority of our news today is pleasant stuff.
Yes.
Um, Konami has stated in a financial document, which is also another thing we're going to be talking about. Lots of financial documents giving us news this week, which I don't know about that. But Konami says that it might have plans to outsource more of its classic IPs following the Getso Fumaden revival. So Getso Fumaden is a side-scrolling game. It's a classic game that
Mhm.
they're remaking, but they did not remake it themselves. They outsourced it to another studio. Um, and now they're talking about potentially doing similar things, not necessarily remakes, but using their old IPs and having new studios make games for them, which this is another thing we talked about recently. Konami has so many dormant, beloved IPs that are just sitting there and they're not doing anything with them. So if all they have to do is bring in other studios for those games to get new entries, this could be excellent news. And I really hope this Getsu Fumaden remake does well and a lot of people are interested. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend looking it up. It is beautiful. The trailer is gorgeous. And it comes out next year. I think if this succeeds and Konami actually starts using other studios to make games again, that would be thrilling.
So, some PlayStation exclusives have already been moving to PC. It looks like maybe Uncharted 4 might be next. I don't really know. Um, it was sort of leaked in an investor report that they would be porting Uncharted 4: A Thief's End to PC, which is interesting because I feel like I don't know. It's always just been a Sony thing, Uncharted, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that one I agree. That one feels specifically strange on PC. Like Days Gone and Horizon, it was like, okay, these are new franchises. It kind of makes sense. But Uncharted is just such a PlayStation staple.
Right? Like Nathan Drake is a PlayStation All-Star, you know what I mean? So,
Battle Royale or just PlayStation All Star?
both.
He is in the Battle Royale, and that was before Fortnite. So,
That's true.
would you say Nathan Drake's like the original Fortnite?
I might say that. I would
Yep.
probably hesitate, but I might say that.
But that does continue our trend of financial document leaks, and from that we have one more financial document leak. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night is getting a sequel, according to a financial document. Bloodstained came out a couple years ago. It was a Kickstarted project by Koji Igarashi, the guy who made Castlevania Symphony of the Night. So it's like a spiritual successor to that. And unlike certain other games, like Mighty Number 9, it actually succeeded and people were happy with it. And it was a worthy successor to that series. I played it and loved it. The idea of a sequel is exciting. It's a little underwhelming that it came in a financial document, that announcement, but hey, that's just how it got to be this week, I guess.
Yep. It's just the
But
way the news leaks through the
through
cracks of finances.
just piles and piles of financial documents. Hey, Mother 3 might be in there somewhere. We should go
Mm,
look.
yeah, let's go sift through them for any mention of Lucas.
So that covers the general news this week, Kelly. Are you ready to move into some pre E3 stuff?
I sure am.
I'm always excited these couple weeks leading up to E3. There's developers that are like, we want our own spotlight, so we're gonna drop some stuff early. Or
Mhm.
you have somebody like PlayStation who's like, we're not gonna be there, so we'll just drop it now. But we got quite a few things this week, lots to discuss. So do you want to jump right into it?
Right, I do. So, the first thing is that gameplay was revealed for Far Cry 6. Um, the release date was confirmed for October 7th, which I'm not super. I actually thought it was might be a little bit earlier because I remember we saw something about Far Cry 6 like a long time ago. It might have been just a year, but because last year felt so long, it was only a year. But
Yeah, this one feels like it's been in the pot for a while. So
yeah, but it looks pretty good. I was intrigued with the cinematic trailer from however long ago that was, because, uh, what's his name?
Breaking Bad,
Yeah, Gustavo. I can't
Mr. Breaking Bad.
I can't remember his actor's name. We should look it
Well,
up.
I have
It's
good
like
news that we have access to that information because we have the internet.
it's
He's
like a
played by Giancarlo Esposito.
yes, yes. Now I remember. Okay. Um, so he's gonna be in it. He did like the voice capture and the face capture, which is interesting. I mean, he has a very recognizable face, I think, just because Breaking Bad's so popular.
Yeah.
Um, Something sort of interesting is that they were like, "Don't worry, you guys, it's not really political at all," which is literally insane. That's unhinged that they would ever say that. If you watch the trailer, it seems very explicitly political. I think,
uh,
um,
especially the cinematic trailer. It's just
I
what a
know. I
bogus
know.
claim.
I know, because it's set in South America. Feel like I think it's like a fictional South America. I don't know if
Yeah,
it's
no,
like an
it's not real.
actual, right? Um, and it's like I don't understand why they would say this. I think it's just so as not to alienate people, which is like, who really cares? Because if you didn't alienate people who were like afraid that it was political with the first trailer, then you know I mean, the weeds have been weeded out, you know what I mean? If they watch that trailer, they'd be like, "Oh, it's probably political," and if you don't like that kind of thing, then you'd probably know from the jump.
I think it's definitely a much bigger talk to be had about developers and publishers having this insistence that they are not political, and
Yeah.
because they just want to think that like I don't know, they're just fun products. But like video games, especially now, are like narrative things, and narratives have a lot of political undertones generally. And also Far Cry 6, they have said, is directly inspired by guerrilla Cuban fighters. I should probably switch those because now I'm imagining actual guerrillas. Cuban guerrilla fighters
Right, right.
from the 50s and 60s. And the fact that it's based upon a very heated political topic, to say
Yeah,
that there's no political undertones,
yeah. It's a little bit unhinged, like I said. I think maybe it was just said to like placate the stakeholders.
perhaps, but I mean, this is probably a much bigger talk to be had. I feel like once E3's done, these are the kinds of things that we can spend lots of time. But sadly, we're too busy shilling over how much we love video games because they're really
Yes.
fun and I love them.
Yes, true. And also, I don't care about any of the other stuff because there's a little doggy in a little wheelchair. So all the rest is unimportant. Philosophical debates, political debates, I don't need it. Just give me the little doggy in the wheelchair.
I'm honestly considering playing this one. I've never played a Far Cry game.
Be
The
fun.
Ubisoft formula is something I generally get bored of very quickly, so I figured, oh, I'll just stay out of this. But the fact that Gus from Breaking Bad is here, and also the gameplay part of this trailer looked really fun and kind of goofy, I might use this as a hopping on point, and now we have this podcast as an excuse to get all the games I'm even a little interested in. So,
Yeah,
well, we'll see. It's not too far away. October sounds far, and then I'm like, oh wait, it's
yeah,
June. It is today is June 1.
right.
Well, when this is released. It is almost June 1 when this is being recorded,
Right, almost June 1.
which means 4 months, which is
Hmm.
bananas, truly bananas.
Hmm.
Which, since this is South America, maybe there will be some of those.
That's true. Though I think bananas can be found anywhere.
Well, Giant Eagle down the street from me has them, so you're probably right. That is anywhere.
I think bananas are pretty universal these days.
These days. All right. Kelly, I made a joke to you
Hmm.
mere hours after we stopped recording our episode last week. I sent you a screenshot that they announced a Sonic event. And I
Right.
said, we said his name too many times. He's like Beetlejuice. We summoned him. So this Sonic event, Sonic Direct as I was calling it colloquially, announced quite a few things. Some of them very exciting. Some of them I already forget and I will not tell you about. Go watch it yourself. But let's get into the exciting stuff. One of the big things that they announced was Sonic Colors Ultimate, which is an HD remaster of the Wii game. That's coming out September 7th for PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. It's also coming out alongside a 2-part animated special, Rise of the Wisps, which I found surprising because a few months ago there was a whole to-do about the fact that Roger Craig Smith was done voicing Sonic, and then this remaster's announced, and then he's coming back to voice the animated special, and I'm like, I don't think it's coming back if you haven't showed us a new actor yet.
Right. He was like, surprise. I bet you thought you'd seen the last of me.
Yeah, 1 month ago when I told you saw the last of me. The animated show looks really nice. I'm interested in playing this game because, again, like we talked about last week, Sonic does not have the best track record, but this is, I would say, with Generations, the most well-received Sonic game of the past probably 2 decades now. So I'm excited. I'm happy for Sonic fans at the very least.
Hmm.
Um, but that was not the biggest announcement. The biggest announcement was a new teaser for the next mainline Sonic game, which is coming out for PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and Switch. That last one surprised me. In 2022. And it was revealed with a really vague 30-second trailer of Sonic in the woods going fast. And he draws a funny logo with his running path, and then that's what's shown. And then it just says 2022. No title, no idea of what it's going to play like, anything like that. But then thank God for financial documents and PR teams, because now we unintentionally know the title and the general direction of the game. It is going to be called, in all likelihood, Sonic Rangers, and it will likely be an open world game. Um,
Sonic Breath of the Wild?
oh my goodness, I hope. I'm what's the word? Not excited.
I'm not excited.
I'm happy that there's a new Sonic game coming out from the Sonic team, the main Sonic team, but also the long gap between the last game and this game is not indication it'll be good, because there was a long gap between the last game and Forces, which was also bad. So at this point, the amount of time a game takes for Sonic Team does not indicate quality.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely surprised by the fact that it's coming to Switch.
Yeah. I feel like it's just a big corner of the market is kids and their Switches, you know. And I don't know, I just feel like the ever-present Sonic or Sega and Nintendo, it's not really a thing anymore just because everybody owns everybody in some way, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
It's more so just that now that next gen consoles are here, I feel like Sonic could utilize that. Although maybe that team wouldn't know how anyway.
right. I don't think anybody knows. I literally don't own one PlayStation 5 game for my PlayStation 5 except for um the little guy's playroom. What's his name?
The little guy. Yeah. No, the little guy's playroom.
I
I
can't
prefer
remember
that
his
title a
name.
lot. Astrobot's playroom.
Astrobot's playroom.
But I really prefer the little guy's
He's
playroom.
the little guy.
It's a little creepy sounding, but I like it. But I will see what happens. I think based on the extreme vagueness of this trailer, it's gonna be a minute till we see this game. I I mean, I guess this could be like a lead up so that it could be at E3, but honestly, I'm expecting it to be 6, 7 months till we see this game again. Maybe
Yeah.
early next year or late this year.
Yeah. If it was, I mean, if it was going to be at E3, they would have just showed the teaser at E3, I feel like. You know what I
Or
mean?
even showed this teaser and said tune in to E3 for more.
Right. Right. I would agree with you there.
I did see a lot of very funny tweets. You know, on when you're on YouTube and you see those like Unreal Engine Sonic games or Mario games where they're running through like photorealistic fields with like deer and stuff. And it's
Yeah.
like, look how real it looks, but it looks really stupid.
Yeah.
Somebody made jokes because they're like, oh my god, they finally hired this guy because it is Sonic running through really realistic woods in this trailer.
I feel like I saw that. Now that you say that, it sounds very familiar.
I
Maybe
saw
we
it like
saw the
four
same tweet.
times from many people, and I'm like, wow. I'm glad that everybody saw this trailer and thought of that joke.
Yes. Oh, that's but going back to the Switch, like we were talking about, Nintendo is going to release an upgraded Switch maybe September. Um, maybe going to be revealed at E3. Probably going to be revealed at E3. Not all that surprising. I feel like Nintendo's the master of re-releasing consoles every like 3 months and being like, "It's brand new, surprise!" But you
Well,
know,
the thing with this one is that so Bloomberg's talking about this, and all of this take with a grain of salt because it's just reports, and this could all be wrong. But Bloomberg's thing is that they're insistent that in the coming days, even Nintendo's just gonna reveal this thing, and then be like, "Hello, this is the new Nintendo Switch, probably called something else." It's been called the Switch Pro by a lot of people. It probably will have some weird name nobody thought to call it until they said it.
yeah. So
Um,
sick of the pros.
no, the Switch X. Let's
Yeah,
just cop
Switch
Xbox.
Series Pro
The Switch
5.
Switch Series Pro 5. If it's called that, I think you heard it here first, folks.
Hmm.
Um, in all likelihood, if Bloomberg is right, whenever you're listening to this, we are out of date because it has already been revealed. But The report states that sometime this coming week, before E3, Nintendo's going to announce whatever the Switch is, and presumably use that as an opportunity to show off at E3 a bunch of games, taking advantage of this new console. I'm interested in an upgrade for my Switch. The Switch is a pretty nice console, but I feel like an upgrade could do a lot of good for it, you know?
Mm.
Be really fun to play Breath of the Wild at a truly stable frame rate.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. I guess I just sort of feel like I wish that there was a way to upgrade the software without having to get new hardware. Like it feels very much like, are you going to spend more money on our stuff? You know what I mean? It just
Mm-hmm.
is like I wish that you could just do like a software system upgrade and rather than like a hardware upgrade, like I said.
Or even like something like a Pro dock or something, because the dock does enhance the power of the console. So it'd be really nice if you could just buy a dock and that would increase the power of your Switch while
Yeah,
it was on the TV.
yeah, that's a good point.
But it's there's been so much talk about this Switch and so many rumors, and to be frank, I don't know what makes this report special, other than the fact that I saw way more people talking about it than usual, which makes me think somebody smarter than me thinks it's more legitimate. So it must be.
Yeah,
But in
we'll
all
see.
likelihood, we'll know in a couple days if they're right or wrong.
Yeah, yeah, I guess we'll know soon enough.
So back to actual video games, there was another direct-esque presentation by Square Enix for Dragon Quest's anniversary. They announced a couple things, some mobile puzzle stuff that I forget about already, some MMO stuff that I forget about already. That's Dragon Quest X. If you are interested in MMOs, I highly recommend you go find somebody who knows a lot about it. But some things that I do know about. They announced Dragon Quest 12, which I tuned into this presentation excited to see some Dragon Quest 12 because although I'm not a massive fan of the Dragon Quest franchise, I'm always excited to see the new entries because they are generally very beautiful, at the very least. And it seemed like this was the prime place to show 12. Um, they didn't. They announced it, and they announced it with the number 12 on screen. That's it. That's the end of the
Hmm.
story.
And they said, "See y'all in
Yeah.
Japan."
They didn't announce.
I'm doing peace signs right now. You guys can't see, but they're piecing out. They said, "See y'all.
More. I love
See
a
you when
good
we see
visual
you."
gag that you have to explain because you remember that nobody can see us. But they
Right.
didn't announce release date. They didn't announce uh, consoles. So this exists probably. All that was said was the director noting that this is a darker, more adult Dragon Quest, which I think is pretty exciting. But anytime I hear like a video game director being like, "Guys, this is for adults," I'm like, "Okay, what's? Are you just gonna kill a character or something? Like, chill. What makes it for adults?"
Right.
But in more tangible news that makes me excited, they announced a remake of Dragon Quest III by the Octopath team. So the Octopath team
Yes.
is now, and I don't like this, called the 2D HD team, which is a dumb title.
What does it mean? What does it all mean?
For those who haven't played or seen Octopath, um, it is a pixel art game, but a lot of the environments and settings are 3D, and there's a lot of interesting effects. Um, it looks like a SNES game on a lot of drugs, like a lot of drugs. Um, they
Hmm.
actually have another game coming out for the Switch sometime next year, but this I really did not expect. It looks stunning. It makes me really interested in playing this game. I really like a lot of the aesthetics and characters and stuff from Dragon Quest 3, but I've never played it because it's in all likelihood aged like a fine glass of milk in the sun.
Ew.
So, so the fact that this game is getting such an extreme upgrade by such a talented team, because I thought Octopath was tremendous, I'm definitely going to be playing this one. They're pretty vague on details. It's coming to home consoles, so PS4, Xbox, and Switch. No release date yet. They just said stay tuned. But there was a trailer. I recommend going to watch it if you're at all interested. So this one actually had something tangible to look at. I'm very excited. We'll see what happens
Mhm.
next. Uh,
Yes,
the
it's
as
exciting.
a side note, this is not news by any means. I watched the Dragon Quest presentation live, and it was one of the most poorly planned live presentations I've seen in my life. And I've watched Sonic live presentations before. Um, they had a live translation, and I anticipated that they would have provided a script to the translator before, so she didn't have to actively translate fast talking people. Um, they didn't.
Hmm.
She was struggling a
Oof.
lot to keep up. It was not an uncomfortable presentation on its own, but the fact that it was just over it all was a woman trying her darndest to keep up with these people. And I was just like,
Mm.
okay, let's just watch the games and maybe tell them to stop talking so the translator can get a glass of water or something.
Right. Give her a second.
I think that's kind of part of the pre E3 charm though, is watching like really dumb presentations from slightly
Yeah,
less competent publishers who don't do this a lot.
right. I would say that's part of the E3 charm as well, not just pre-E3, but during E3.
Well, that's one of the.
Watching
Go ahead.
watching game developers in their t-shirts and blazers walk onto the stage and try and have any sort of presence to describe their quote unquote indie game. Not an indie quote unquote. It's a fully published, fully financed game that feels like a quote unquote indie game.
This is my indie game, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Please buy it.
It feels like an indie game. It feels like a personal experience that you play at your fingertips.
I
Shut up.
I can say definitively I am preemptively disappointed with this E3 purely on the grounds that so many of the presentations will be pre-recorded.
Ugh, I know.
And what's the point if you can't watch people bumble on stage and not know how to talk?
I know.
But at least the news will be good.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
No big Keanu Reeves moment.
Keanu Reeves. Was he drunk? I think he was drunk, but
Good for him. I would be if I was there.
if somebody was like, hey, you need to be at this Xbox conference to advertise this game, and he said, wait, I didn't sign up for that.
Yeah. So, new games coming soon. PlayStation showed off the first gameplay footage for the next Horizon game, Horizon Forbidden West. It's a sequel, right? I've never
Yeah.
played the first one, so
Yeah, I
it's a
have,
sequel
so
to the first. It looks good.
I'm excited and weary. I personally didn't enjoy the first game very much. Um,
Mm.
I felt very restricted by a lot of it. Don't play this game after playing Breath of the Wild. That's all I'll say to start. Um, Lots of invisible walls, lots of unclimbable surfaces. Um, the story was pretty good. I thought the gameplay was kind of restrictive. Like it was just shooting a lot of bullet spongy enemies and
Mm.
not really getting much feedback that you were doing good. And it was gorgeous with an asterisk though, because so many of the scenes were just like under animated, like two people standing still.
Oh,
This game looks to be fixing that a lot though. The opening scene of this with Aloy, the main character, talking to an injured guy, and the level of facial animation is like remarkable, and
yeah.
the lighting looks amazing. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I'm disappointed it's coming to PS4 because I bet this game would look truly profound if it was PS5 exclusive.
Yeah, I don't get it. Feels like nothing's coming out for next gen consoles at all.
We got Ratchet, but that feels like literally it for 2021.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
this is something, and it will be better on PS5. Um, I probably will play it because the original had enough to it that I'm interested in playing the sequel, and I think they'll probably have learned from some of those shortcomings. There was no release date or anything, which really surprised me because if I'm not mistaken, this is supposed to be 2021.
It looked quite substantial.
Yeah, I'm
So
not.
I feel like
I don't
we
think
might
it's.
find out soon.
Yeah, and the fact that they're not having an E3 conference, PlayStation is not having an E3 conference, so it makes sense that they would reveal this now. But it also seemed like a really good time to announce a release date because I mean, there's not all that many months left in 2021. Like, if it's going to come out in November or December, it'd probably be good to know that now. Uh,
Yeah.
it looked gorgeous. At the very least, watch the trailer and go, ooh, ah, at how pretty the robot dinosaurs and water is.
Yes.
The water is okay. The water is gorgeous. I'm not going to pretend that's not the case. That is some of the best water I've seen in my life.
Yeah, I'd like to take a dip.
It looks so blue and fresh.
I know.
I think we should go swimming in that
Okay.
water.
In that water.
Yeah, do you want to flood San Francisco or whatever it is and then go for a swim?
Is that weird? I've never played the games. Is it supposed to be like post-apocalyptic?
Yeah, it's set in the distant future. The first game is in I don't know where, and then the second game is in the Forbidden West, which is California.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
So I believe that was San Francisco in the trailer, or Santa Monica, or something like that.
Was
Some
there a big bridge?
I don't I don't know.
I was gonna say, I feel like San Francisco is pretty recognizable for its gigantic Golden Gate Bridge, but
Would that survive though?
I think like the structure of it might, not the bridge itself, but
Well,
it's
considering
pretty
the
big.
game is about being on the west coast of America, I think there's a very good chance you'll see that bridge.
Ugh, better see that bridge.
I didn't know you were so emotionally attached to this bridge.
I'm just kidding.
Your face says you're not kidding. You love that bridge. That's okay.
I'm feeling attached.
Do you want to move on to something that we both have a little more attachment to?
Yes.
Okay, so Pokemon has some video games coming out. We talked a little bit about this last week with the Diamond and Pearl remakes and the Legends Arceus, however you care to pronounce it, release. They confirmed this week that they are coming out. Uh, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are coming out November 19th of this year, which makes sense. That's exactly what I expected. And
Yeah.
then what I far less expected, and honestly what I'm a little concerned about, is that Legends Arceus is coming out January 28th of next year. Um,
Yeah.
we saw that game for the first time pretty recently. It looked bad. It was an interesting concept, but it looked unfinished in so many ways. And that wasn't that long ago. So the fact that it's coming out soon, I, I and considering Pokemon's recent track record, I'm concerned. I'm optimistic, but that release date really has me nervous.
Yeah. It's weird that it's so soon after the remakes.
Yeah, that one surprised me too because I'm surprised they aren't worried about cannibalizing their own sales.
I would think that they would go for like a spring 2022 thing. Not
Yeah.
spring as in January, February, but spring as in like March or April, like right before the summer.
Yeah.
Um, so I thought that was weird. Um, January is a weird time to release a game, I think.
It's a lot of big games come out in January, but it just feels weird having this not a sequel, but like having a new entry in the Pokemon series come like 3 months after, no, 2 months. I can't even do
Yeah,
math.
not
That's how
even.
few months it is. Um, I don't know. It's just one of those games that I want to be super excited for because it's a prequel to Diamond and Pearl, and that's my favorite entry. Yours as well, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So exploring that region and that story more is very exciting to me, but I'm just concerned that they're not going to finish the game and that they're just going to do like what they did with Sword and Shield. But if it looks half as bad as that original trailer, far more substantially blow it.
Yeah, we'll see.
Hopefully
Feels like
soon.
the stakes are a little bit high.
I'm I'm confused as to the fact that they announced these release dates just out of the blue.
I know. I don't get it.
Because if what we talked about last week is true, and they do have a Pokemon Presents presentation coming out right in the middle of E3, wouldn't it have made sense to just show the games off there with release dates?
Yeah, you would think.
I guess what do I know, but
I I don't understand this week before E3. Let's just announce all the release dates thing. Like, what are we going to talk about next week? What are you guys going to show us next week? I mean, maybe they'll show us. Maybe they'll show the art. What is it? The Arceus. What is it called? Let me look. Hold on. Legends of Arceus. Pokemon
Legends
Legends.
colon Arceus.
Arceus. So maybe they'll show us that, like, and it'll really blow your mind, and it'll be like, wow, I feel so much better now about this game. It looks great.
I most certainly hope you're right. I really, really do.
Uh, we'll see. I feel pretty neutral about it. I was never the type of person to be like, I need an open world Pokemon game or I'm gonna die. But it would be disappointing if it was bad.
Yeah, I don't want any Pokemon game to be bad, you know?
Yeah, I wish the Pokemon creators felt the same.
Sorry, they can't hear you. Their pockets are weighing them down too much with all that money.
Ugh.
We'll see. I
Well,
just, because of recent events, I think they could afford to either hire more people or start outsourcing part of their games to people, and then, because like look at new Pokemon Snap, that game is visually stunning, and then
yeah.
put it next to that first Legends Arceus trailer, and you're like, how is the main studio being? How is it so underwhelming? Well, we'll see. I don't
Right.
want to trash on it too much because maybe the next trailer will change my mind.
Right. We shall see. Um, Speaking of things that are coming soon, the first E3 show was announced. So the joint Microsoft Bethesda conference is going to happen on Sunday, June 13th. So like 2 weeks from now, barely, at 1 p.m. in our time, which is Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be about 90 minutes. I was trying to do that. Like, what's 90 minutes? It's an hour. It's 2 hour. Anyway, it's going to be 90 minutes long. So I can't do
Our
math.
specialty is not math, especially today, apparently.
It's going to be 90 minutes long and it's going to have reveals and they're going to talk about Game Pass, I guess, which, is to be expected. I don't think anyone was like expecting anything different, but
I'm a little surprised that wow, that they included Game Pass on the list of things they're going to talk about, because that makes it seem like they have something substantial to talk
I
about.
feel like they always talk about Game Pass though. They're always like, and it's like a little footnote where they're like, and Game Pass, and then they show like a montage of a bunch of games from like 2012, and you're like, oh, cool.
Well, hopefully, that's why I'm hopeful that they have something like Game Pass, but then they show like a bunch of very recent stuff or something to that
Yeah,
effect. We'll
yeah.
see. Uh,
Incentivize.
they pretty quickly quelled our fears that we discussed last week, because we said that we were scared that it was going to basically be two conferences and it would be
Hmm.
like an hour of Bethesda bumbling about and then the Microsoft conference. But it being 90 minutes long, I'm like, dang, this is going to be a tight presentation, lots of quick reveals, presumably, and Bethesda will not get more time than it deserves.
Yes,
Are you
yes.
excited?
I am. I think it's going to be very exciting. I don't want to get like too excited, but I feel like they're going to have something big in their pocket. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they got big pockets.
Big pockets. Maybe Elder Scroll. No, maybe, but no, but maybe, but
I
no,
It's a fair thing to ask
maybe.
for. I'm excited. I think Microsoft, I've said this, has had some of the best showings in the past couple years, barring last year, of course, because there wasn't one. Um, it's weird that we're pretty close, and this is the only conference that has a set time, but hearing a
Yeah,
set time makes it very exciting.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too, because usually I feel like the schedule's out weeks in advance, and I have seen no such schedule. Maybe I just haven't been looking in the right
No, no,
places,
no,
but
you're right. This is the only one with a set time.
it's weird.
And I think presumably, based on what we've heard and past experience, we should expect a Microsoft conference, and obviously Bethesda's is worked into this one, a Nintendo Direct, potentially a Pokemon Presents as well, if that report is correct, and then Square Enix, Ubisoft, EA.
Sony?
No, no Sony.
Oh,
Sony will
oh,
not be present whatsoever.
oh, oh,
oh, oh.
oh.
I
Bye.
think Sony will probably. I would expect Sony to do something.
Don't they have like a state of play or something coming up? Am I crazy?
That's where they revealed that Horizon footage.
Oh, I thought that was just like a Horizon specific thing.
Yeah, no, so it's a Horizon state of play.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, maybe that's what you're thinking about. I expect that they'll
Yeah,
probably
probably.
have like a general state of play, probably like a week after E3 would be my hope, because they have the week of E3, they have Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart and Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade coming out. So like they have a lot coming out that they probably want to just like get out there, and then they'll start talking about what's next after like a week or two of that.
Yeah.
We'll see. What I mean, we're in this really strange boat right now because the global events of the past year, if you will, have really changed the industry a lot, and and
Mm-hmm.
and game releases kind of slowed down for a bit there. And because we didn't get an E3 last year, a lot of people are feeling like, oh, well, since it's been a year since E3, they must have a ton to show this year. But there's a very decent chance that the impact of COVID won't be shown until this E3, when we realize, oh, a lot of these developers don't have as much in their pocket as we might have hoped.
Right. And I mean, they were in the same situations that we were. I mean, they couldn't work
Yeah.
their typical workload, and maybe people were laid off. And, the last year was really crazy for all industries. So I don't think we should expect there to be some big influx of games all of a sudden. I think it's important to be realistic in our expectations.
But at the same time, if you care to be excited, if you want to be a little overhyped, I encourage it. Because you're gonna be disappointed, but oh my goodness, the lead up is fun.
I know, I know. I feel that way too. I'm kind of like I'm excited, but I like don't want to be, but I'm so conflicted.
Well, it's if there was an E3 last year, I think we'd be a little more calm right now. But the fact that this is the first one, like this is the first major game event, it feels like since COVID started, I'm just like, no, no, I have to be excited, even if it is unrealistic and a little dangerous. I have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'll just feel good to watch a lot of game events in a short span of time.
Yeah, I agree.
And also, now that we have this podcast, I am so excited for 2 weeks from now. Our episode is going to be heckin' packed to the brim.
Oh yeah.
Lots to talk about. Tune in. That episode will be 7 hours long.
Okay. I have to get my daily Dragon Age. Every podcast, I think I have to mention Dragon Age in some capacity. But can you imagine if in 2 weeks we have news on Dragon Age 4? Like, when it's going to release? I'm so excited.
uh, Audience, I wish you could see the number of tears just flowing right now.
I have to get it in every week. I have to mention it. No, no one is allowed to not be thinking about Dragon Age.
Yeah, if you spent this whole episode and haven't thought about Dragon Age yet,
Shame on you.
shame on you. I mean, I haven't, so shame on me.
Shame on you.
So that about does it this week. I highly encourage everybody to listen next week. It will be our last show before E3. Um, the following might come out at a slightly different time because we'll want to talk about all the E3 news, so we might have to, work around that by a day or two.
Mhm.
But next week, we're going to talk about our expectations and much more funly in a much more fun way. I don't know
Hmm.
English. English is.
No math, no English.
We don't know math or English. I don't know why you're here. I have to be
It's
honest. Thank you for tuning in, by the way. I don't know why you're here. But we're going to talk about what we are hoping for, which is going to be the dangerous segment where we get ourselves way too excited about everything that we want that probably won't happen.
Yeah.
And maybe even you too. You'll be listening and hadn't even thought about this exciting thing. And then you're like, oh, now I'm excited. And then we can all be disappointed together,
Together,
like a family.
as we should.
This was a great episode. I'm just getting way too excited. We're leading into E3 and we're getting this hype, and it's just fun to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Very fun. Very hype.
Very fun, very hype.
Very fun, very hype. My feelings are mirror yours. I am getting more and more excited as we talk more and more, and I'm excited for next week.
Next week's gonna be a good one, and then the following will be a true blowout.
Well,
Hopefully.
yes.
Hopefully.
Yes.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. This has been a great episode. Tune in next week. We'll talk about our E3 hopes and expectations. It's gonna be a good one. Have a good week. Thanks, Kelly. Hope you had fun today.
I did. Thanks, Andrew. Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Bye. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye.